Botnet. Botnet's Botnet. Or you guys should be getting a good picture and sound on the TVs now, as they say in the moon landings. We're getting a good picture on the TV. Well, you're getting a good picture. There's a great deal of contrast in it, and currently it's upside down on our monitors. But should I do that? Hold on, let's try that. It's not hard. Ready? This is what NASA did. I love when NASA does stuff like this. This is so funny. This was like when Jaren had a Roku remote, and he just put it in front of the camera with his hand. And he's like, what if I just do the whole stream like this, where there's something blocking the camera like NASA does? And I was dying. It was so funny. He's like, why do they always do this? They'll be like, okay, welcome to the show, and we're NASA. Alright, so this is upside down, and then even if you're, guys, especially if you're not a flat earther, go back and watch all of Jaren's old episodes. They were so solid. And just remember that we don't believe that stuff now, so don't get angry at the screen when he says, you're like, that's not how it is. It's like, don't worry, he's converted back now. So you can just watch it for the comedic value that they are, because there's a lot of comedic value in those. They're fucking hilarious. Welcome to the show. Yep, everything's looking real good on the cameras here. And there's like a solar panel, you know. So we love that kind of thing. I'm drinking coffee with pulp. There's a lot of pulp in this one. I went strong, and it's not good. I need to filter it or drink it through a filtration straw or something. It's terrible. Anyway, concentrated caffeine there at least, though. Didn't take much. Now to. Alright, so I wanted to run you guys through some of the updates this morning. Some fun stuff. Alright, look. Maybe one of the reasons I get banned is because I have other people's images on my show for hours at a time. You think that's what it is? Like, there's Drew Beeson with a Sturmgewehr, we get it, you know. Is it safe to leave him on there for hours? I don't know. Thanks, Drew. It's not trashing on Drew at all. I think it's cool to have a Sturmgewehr. It's just a funny concept. It's like, I said something Drew Beeson doesn't agree with me about. Like, better watch out, he's coming for me. You know, and then to just cartoonishly exaggerate the whole thing to such an extent that he's holding a Sturmgewehr. Like, this is getting out of control, guys. Some of you may know that weapon better as an MP44 or an STG-44. But you know what the STG stands for? Sturmgewehr. What does the MP stand for? Machine and pistol. But actually, it's not a machine and pistol, so any of you that know that weapon by the MP44 name, you're technically wrong. It's an assault rifle. It fires a rifle round. It fires the same round that the... Actually, it must fire a Car 98 carbine round. I'm going to fact check that information. Let's find out. I think it fires a K98 carbine. But let's see. Especially if that's the kind of weapon I'm up against on this stream. You might as well know how it works and what it is, you know. It's known by its early designations. Yeah, because they didn't know. They had no... Whoa, that's a thing? I wanted to see that. That's actually really cool. We're going to talk about that in a second. That's for those of you who like guns. Yeah, first successful assault rifle. It fires a... I knew it. I knew it. You ready for this? Oh! I was half right and half wrong. Interestingly, the STG-44 fires its own cartridge. That is essentially a car, a rifle round. It's a shorter version of the standard 7.92 by. Oh my God, they were crazy, guys. No wonder why this is such a dangerous adversary. So the STG-44 was chambered as a 7.92 by 33 millimeter, which is basically just taking a 7.92 by 57 and making it shorter, and that's what a carbine is. So they actually carbinized that ammunition specifically for this weapon, and I was under the impression that the Kar 98 carbine. I think that there is a Kar 98 carbine. It's just a little bit shorter. It doesn't have as long of a barrel. I was under the impression that that weapon was firing a round that was later adopted for the STG-44, but it looks like they just made their own for the STG-44. That's how the Germans roll. But the problem with doing something like that is you don't want to do something like that because then it's harder to pick up ammunition on the battlefield. You know, if everybody's shooting the same round, it's a lot easier to just pick up his magazine. And now you have more ammo. And maybe they did that on purpose, so that the U.S. couldn't do that to them with that weapon, because it's a very innovative weapon. This is a terrifyingly smart weapon right here. Germans were really ahead of their time. It didn't exist before. You had rifles and you had submachine guns. And machine guns. Machine guns were like 700 pounds, and you had to carry them for like miles over ridges, and it's terrible. And no one wants to do that. So then you had rifles, and those were bolt action or semi-automatic. Usually bolt action. You know. Then they invented machine gun pistols. The Germans, again, I think. And those fired a pistol round. But no one had invented an assault rifle that fired an automatic rifle cartridge. That's no joke right there. So it makes sense that... look at this. Oh, this is the history. What's the effective range of this fucker? Wow. Dude, effective firing range in semi-automatic was 660 yards. So for those of you who are like, who are talking about this whole Capturado Robinson, they're like, how did he do it from 200 yards away? It's like, dude, you could take a Sturmgewehr in semi-automatic and be effective from 600 yards, according to Wikipedia. So, I don't know what you'd be able to see through the iron sights, but guess what? It doesn't matter, because here's a German with a scope on his Sturmgewehr. Maybe I can put that on the screen. Let's try it. Let's put a picture of a German guy with a Sturmgewehr with a scope on it. And you guys can see them. I doubt it's an 8 to 10 by 32 optic, like I was saying with Drew Beeson. But you could, if it had a Picatinny rail on top, you could put an 8 to 10 by 32 optic scope. Not sure. Bing, boom, bing. So this is a German guy with an STG with the scope on it, but he's actually very, very concerningly combat effective, that guy. So where were we? Oh yeah, we had so much to show with you guys. Okay, stand by. Guys, look at the pulp in that. So it's very hard to drink this. I'm waiting for it to settle. But it appears to be caught in several emulsions. Okay. I wanted to unveil this for you guys. Just because yesterday we were talking about... Oh, what am I thinking? So first, I got a comment from Professor Leadscales, who's a legend. And I will not tell you I shall never tell you his real name. Unless he approves it. But Professor Leadscale says that he likes the self-confidence the Prowler displays throughout the song. It creates a sense of advocacy that quickly develops in the hearts of the listeners, a fan base rooting for his success. And I told him, we are so fucked if there is a fan base attempting to thwart window-tracked owls. That's very, very concerning. So, good review from him on the prowling thing, on the Soyun Prowler. And it's a great... it just opened... It's just like, what? So that's fun. Little thing for you guys. And then in the meantime, we are going to be doing more unveilings. I have a message for America's Untold Stories. I hope they don't get too mad about this. Let's see. We're working on it.
Hey Mark Bear, stop peddling your snake oil bullshit online. Hey Mark Bear, that shot didn't come from the front, you know it. And Eric Hunley, why can't you correct this guy or something? Your military background should turn in its bed every time that we hear this guy. It's Mark Bear, shoot from a sewer drain, what a total dirtbag. It's Mark Bear, shoot from the window, such a novice in ballistics. Inside this book depository where young men seem to go, tired of looking around them places, they'd rather look for the soul. The leader of the free world can't nothing ever finally turn the other way around, and we're all going over again. Inside this book depository, my adversaries faded away. I know that it would be a lot different if we had stuck talking. We're all going over again.
Okay. Let me delete that. Because what'll end up happening is it'll queue itself up again at some point. So this is the opening track of this record here. We're just doing a little more public announcing about this record now because what happened was it's not that it sat on a this always happens when I make a record, people. That some of the songs that were being written for this album, not all of them, but a couple of them were being written as I was closing out Nuke Hoax. And obviously they weren't going to make it onto the lineup of Nuke Hoax because they weren't done songs, and at that time Nuke Hoax was in mastering and it was getting ready to be put up there on YouTube. Once it goes up on YouTube, that's kind of the main. Like, you can listen to a lot of these early mixes and things as they're developing on SoundCloud, but I don't advertise those links. They're primarily for my own usage. I mean, they're still public. It's just, you can find them. I don't know. Because they're nothing for me to display for you yet. A lot of them are done. So things will go up there with click tracks, or they'll go up there with, unfinished equalizations and things, or totally different scratch tracks and stuff. So it's not something I advertise, but when it is on YouTube and it says full album master tape, that's when you know that's the record. Because in like 2014, 2013, I used to just love the fact that you could go on YouTube and type Unknown Pleasures full album, and you'd get this picture of the album cover, and it would say Joy Division Unknown Pleasures full album master tape. And I thought that was like the coolest thing ever. And I was like, I want to make a record that's like that. So then that became the format for how these things are put up. And it was all thanks to a guy, I think their name was like Wallflower Music or something on YouTube. I'm not sure that these uploads still exist, because now it's all playlists, which is annoying, so they can put advertisements all the time. But it used to be you just get the whole master. It might still be on there, Unknown Pleasures. But there was someone named like Wallflower Music, and that's the person that inspired me to format releases the way that I do. What was this? Oh yeah, so now as this record starts getting most of its material put together better, slowly but surely, and we near the time that it's going to come out, then I can like put them on this, because most songs are more done than before. This one is a titular track, but It almost had a different name, I think. But I don't think I've ever done that before. So I might as well do that. Have a titular track be the first one. Every other album opener I've done, ALA, Contact, all these other things, never had the name of the record in there. It's really just laziness. Okay. There was more updates in the music world for you guys. Oh, yesterday. No, not even yesterday. Today, actually. 20 minutes ago. I'm not really sure where the word yesterday just came from. Someone can get Paul McCartney's ghost out of here for 10 minutes. Billy Joe Armstrong put something on YouTube Reels or whatever it is. They're shorts or something? Yeah, they're shorts. And I just want to say those guys are still cool. They're kind of dweeby and stuff now, and dorky, but it's okay. Because if you do what happened in 1994, you can rest on that laurel for pretty much ever, guys. Even if you say a bunch of weird shit about George W. Bush and turn all political, you can still just fall back on that. People are like, ugh, stop talking about politics. And you're like, but did you see what we did in 1994? And in most cases, people would be like, you're so lame. But not this one. This one's like, okay, that's fine. Just because it almost never, no one ever does anything that fucking, that's the fucking heart and soul of rock and roll, dude. Those fucking gigs in 1994 where Billy Joe was like burning stuff on stage and like ranting and calling the audience fucktards and stuff. That's the heart and soul of rock and roll. So, and nobody ever does that anymore. They're all too scared. Oh, I'm gonna get canceled. Billy Joe didn't care. I think it was clear to him that he could say whatever he wanted, and the people that were there were gonna love him because he's just a punk rocker. And people don't see it yet, but they're gonna see it. Give them another 30 years, and they'll be like, "Whoa, did you see 1994?" Be like, "I said that 30 years ago." And they can rest on that laurel. Congratulations to Druser and the team. I think Cheryl and maybe Jerome is involved in this. I'm not sure exactly who's involved, but they're doing a new panel called the panel called the Chronicle about Zodiac, and it's a monthly discussion panel that they're doing. And I think that's the right solution. Maybe a little more structure to it. The Chronicle's a cool name. It's way better than a lot of the other people's panel ideas that were called like, "This is the Zodiac speaking." Ugh, Morford. I mean, come on, guys. First of all, it's not the Zodiac. It's like, guys, they had a podcast called "This is the Zodiac Speaking." It was like a British guy and then like a sleuth. It was like, so which one of you is the Zodiac again? So the Chronicle's a better name. As far as unveiling, so they're talking about the killer's mindset, I think, was the title of that stream. And it's like, guys, let me clue you in. You ever been playing like Call of Duty or something and you just keep getting killed by people and you're just pissed? Now amplify that aggression and that temperamental response that you have, like, a lot. Back it with a lifetime of cynicism and pessimistic failure in life, and then back that with readily accessible firearms and the lack of DNA science. And this guy just went out there pissed off. And then, of course, I think writing to the newspapers brought home just enough joy to this lunatic that, because he was trolling, he was getting to say troll stuff in the newspapers. Nah, I'm sure he liked to do that. And that's your mindset. You know, most of the time it's pretty obvious. With EAR, it's like, what was his motivation? Like, What did he do? 54 times. So it's the same thing. Probably a lot more than 54 times. This me being more aware of my surroundings before this part of my show. For Jerome. Interessante. I just want to give a shout on the stream to Arita Voigt for you guys. Because, God willing, we'll never see him again. But, that's a bittersweet moment. So, that being said, I'd like to give a shout out to Arita Voigt. He only speaks Spanish, so I don't really send him these streams. Because they're mostly in English. It's mucho comentario, and it's, no English, no good. So, I'll timestamp them and send that to him. There's a couple things I could timestamp. Boop, clip them. And I want to do like a best of these rants too. There's just so much to sift through. Like some of these things about Capturado Mangione being a grifter and a degenerate, that's obviously going to get clipped. Because he's such a grifter. If you guys thought Dan Grider was bad, wait till you see Fumato Capturado. He's the worst grifter. Let's see if they have any fundraisers for him right now. Fundraiser for Fumato Capturado. Look at this. It's like one of the top Googled things. That's horrible. Isn't that horrible? Look at this. Look at this insane shit, guys. Isn't this crazy? Why is this allowed? Can we put it on the screen? Let's put it on the screen because it's so much more interactive and so much more impactful that way. Look at this. This is the craziest thing I have ever seen. How is this allowed? Let's go to pictures and we'll go funds. Funderado, Capturado. We'll just call it fund. I don't care. Then go to pictures. And then go pictures. I mean, the FBI might take that. They'll be like, what do you mean fund? What do you mean? It's like, don't worry. Watch my stream. You'll see what I mean. I was just being lazy. I didn't want to type. Plus, you guys will see that I'm not a fan of that guy. Here it is. This is it, guys. Yes, there was a fundraiser for Fumato Capturado, the man accused of killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson on the Give Send Go platform. The fundraiser was created by the December 4 Legal Committee to help with Capturado's legal fees and surpassed $1 million in donations by May 2025. So this guy got $1 million for a legal defense, except he was arrested with the murder weapon in his possession, so he's fucked. There is no legal defense from that, guys. He's not going to win there. Why are you paying that? Guys, if you get caught with the murder weapon in your possession and they can backtrace, like Jen Emick and that one Angry Dad say, if you can backtrace everything that he does, I know where it's coming from because I backtraced it. And then he's arrested with the murder weapon and a witness report, it's over. So don't give him $1 million because what he's going to do is he's going to run away with that money because he's a grifter. But he'll use it for commissary. So if that's your purpose, I mean, this guy's going to go into prison with so much money, it's ridiculous. Hopefully his lawyers grift him. And they probably will. What's he going to do? He's in prison. I've been grifted by my lawyers. It's like, thank God. Who knows what he's going to start a podcast or something like Suge Knight did. Suge Knight has a podcast. I don't know if it's still going. The audio quality was terrible, so let's see. And at least Suge Knight, like, we all expect him to be like that. You can't, guys, you can't, like, know about Suge Knight and be like, oh my god, what has he done? It's like, it's Suge Knight. So not good. And hopefully people will know not to give Suge Knight $1 million. Unless he was suspending them over a balcony like fucking Vanilla Ice. Allegedly. But don't give Suge... No one would even think to give Suge Knight would you give Suge Knight $1 million? Of course not. But then other people, they get wrapped because they'd never heard of him before. Who's Fumato Capturado? Oh, he's this guy, just came out of nowhere. Now he needs a legal defense. Pay him. If he had the same kind of reputation as Suge Knight, we wouldn't be doing that. So... it's crazy. He's gonna grift your asses, you guys. So gonna grift you. Here comes Fumato Capturado with a big collection basket. Pay no attention to that hasty retreat after the money is in the bag. How is this not getting seen? Does it really take the most banned prowler online to tell you guys to be like, watch out, Mangiona's a grifter? Dude, that money could be so much better used by the same people. It's not like I'm saying, oh, I want it. It's just like, do something better with it. Definitely the pulp's settling now, finally. It's been like an hour. Don't give Fumato Capturado $1 million. He's gonna lose the case, guys. Have you guys never seen a criminal proceeding happen? Fumato Capturado's not going anywhere good, guys. He's not gonna walk out of that courtroom. It's just not how it works. Even when like OJ did that, which is mind-blowingly rare, it was in an era that people didn't know, like they had never seen CSI. So, yes, we have the CSI effect in courtrooms today, and in some cases it can be detrimental. I don't really think it is, though, because science needs to be utilized. If we're going to say someone shot someone, you have to prove that before you're going to lock. That's not okay to just, oh, he shot someone, lock him away. You have to scientifically prove it. And the CSI effect has done a really good job of setting that bar high of what evidence is. Because, yeah, witness testimony is not evidence, in my opinion. Legally it is. But, you know how many times people say dumb shit online or in real life or anywhere? Or just wrong all the time, people? Maybe they don't want to admit it, and the court is not helping them admit it. But very, very frequently, witness testimony is just not accurate. So to use that as evidence is nonsense to me. But the CSI effect has set the bar really high as to what constitutes scientific evidence, and that's good. That's a good thing. In 1994, they didn't understand DNA science, and so it was easy to confuse them which way you went. And what's his name? What's that guy's name? Johnny Cochran was so clever that he was able to bore the jury with the DNA segment of the trial, which is the important part. The DNA will tell you who the perpetrator is, because if the offender's DNA, well, how else did it get there? He's got a mixture of his blood and Nicole Kidman's blood, but he was not there. Come on. So that's why DNA is so powerful. But what Cochran was able to do, and it's brilliant, and it wouldn't fly today, is he was able to ramble and be boring as fuck that entire time, or at least bore the shit out of the jury, so they weren't paying attention to what they were hearing, and they didn't know. And so now they could trick the DNA. This is very, very clever work. That's actually one of the smartest defense strategies I've ever heard in my life. It's brilliant. And that's why Johnny Cochran is talked about the way he's talked about. And that's why OJ got, acquitted. But you guys think Fumato Capturado is going to get acquitted? Look at the evidence against him. It's like bad news for him. He's arrested with the murder weapon in his possession. That's it. You did it, dude. It looks like you on the video to me. Might have been wearing a mask, but considering the guy who got caught with the murder weapon looks so much like that guy on that video, and that looks like you, that's it. You're done for. So don't give him any money, guys. Come on. You might as well just flush it down the toilet. No one cares what cause you're standing for. Oh, yes, but I did it Did I stand for a cause? What's your cause? Shooting people in the back and then crying and saying you didn't do it? That's so dumb. And I don't want $1 million from Go. I just wanted 50 subscribers so I could do this directly to YouTube. Bid $1 million. Apparently nowadays, if you want that, you just have to blow someone away. Start grifting like. Let's see if there's any fundraisers up for Capturado Robinson, because those should be shut down with a botnet. What do you think? Fundraiser for Capturado Robinson. Let's see. There's a different. Somebody tried to set one up on GoFundMe, but you can't, guys. Guys, let me explain something to you, okay? So, GoFundMe doesn't let you start a fundraiser for the defendant of a criminal prosecution effort. So if there's a trial coming out, or there's someone who's been charged with something, GoFundMe doesn't let you raise money for their defense. So stop creating GoFundMes for people in those circumstances and then crying when GoFundMe takes the fundraiser down and says it violates our terms of service, because it's been there forever. GoFundMe's terms of service have always said, as far as I can remember, that you can't raise money for criminal defendants with their platform. You can try. You can make a new GoFundMe and keep getting taken down, and all is swallowing all your money. And you'll be like, what happened? What mental happened? It's like they told you 100 times in the news. They've said it in every interview they've given to anybody or spokespeople for GoFundMe. They've always said that. Because fundraisers will get taken down, then there's an outrage. There's a public outrage. Fundraisers are removed. Like, you're not allowed to do that. They said that last week. So don't make a fundraiser for whatever dumb fuck comes along next. Just stop. They don't, because you're never going to see that money again, and it's not a good cause, guys. Shooting people is not cool, dude. Like, that's not how you fix any of those problems that people are complaining about. In fact, the FBI has a new classification of terrorist behavior. And what the fuck is it called? It has to do with nihilistic violence. Let's find out what the FBI is. FBI new category terrorist. Nihilistic something here. Yep. Nihilistic violent extremism introduced a new category of this type of criminal. And yeah, I think that's good that they did that. Because these guys don't even really have a good point. And most of the time don't. The vast majority of the time, I can't think of a time where... But if someone can comment on a time, and we can review it and talk about whether or not it's sensible, at least. I'm open to that. And, let's see. Most of the time, or all the time possibly, these guys don't have a good cause or a good message or anything. They just want to blow something up. So for the feds to introduce that new category of terrorists is smart. Dude, Captain Otto Robinson didn't fucking know what he stood for. He thought he did. He's like, oh, that guy spreads so much hatred. It's like, where does he spread hatred? You're the guy with a sniper rifle, you weirdo. You never seen Charlie Kirk with a sniper rifle? You know why? Because he doesn't spread hatred like you do, Captain Otto. Like hatred. Okay, there's a difference between hating something and saying it's stupid. It's like when people called Alex Jones hateful. No, he wasn't. He was hilarious, and he thought some things were stupid. That's a huge difference, guys. Look. This is why DNA is works for, okay, your DNA makes up who you are and describes you very, very thoroughly. We were able to determine what color eyes the EAR had from his DNA. They knew that it was blue eyes. And that was kept secret until he was arrested. A lot of people were looking for hazel eyes, brown, whatever. But the DNA experts knew all along that he had blue eyes. And premature balding, I think, was what Barbara Ray Venter discovered. That he was prematurely balding and he had blue eyes. So we know that to be true about the original Night Stalker. And your DNA describes you. And so if you want to argue with what your DNA says you are, you can do that. But it's not rational. So when these people come around and they're like, oh, but I say that I... It's like, let's look at the DNA and we'll just follow science. And they're like, no, but I don't accept that. It's like, that's your problem then. I guess. That's your thing to deal with. But it doesn't mean that you can change everyone else's rules and standards because you disagree with scientific proof. And I think a lot of you understand what I'm saying here, though it's very expertly cloaked. And so, how is Alex Jones hateful? How is Charlie Kirk hateful? They're just following the scientific evidence and making fun of the people who don't. They don't hate anybody. It's not a big deal. You know who hates people? The people who bring sniper rifles to rallies. Like you, Captain Otto Robinson. That's your hateful person. Not the comedians. And whether you guys like it or not, a lot of these public figures are also comedians because they have a sense of humor. They're people who know how to use humor and engage in solid rhetoric using, comical principles. Like Alex Jones was a total comedian. Remember that time when he was like, I got a message for the New World Order, and he stood up with a rifle and everything, and he was making the frogs gay, and so comedian. And I have never really listened to Kirk's work because that's not the point for me. For me, it's a murder investigation, the whole thing. And I don't need my opinion swayed, or I don't need an influence to tell me what I think is going on, so I just didn't care to listen to it at all. Not like he's going to change my mind on anything. We probably agree on a lot of points, but maybe other things no, I don't know. But he's not going to change my views. And so I didn't, but I've heard from a lot of people that he was very funny. And so that goes to substantiate the point I was making, that a lot of these public figures know how to utilize comedy in their rhetoric, because it's very effective at getting a point across and getting people to agree with a point. If you get people to think something's funny and it brings them joy to view something that way, then they're more likely to believe in that cause. It's essentially old school social engineering tactic. And I highly, highly doubt that Charlie Girk hated the T's. You guys know what I'm saying. It's an old... Anyway, I don't think he hated them. So this guy's like, he has too much hatred, I'm going to snipe him. It's like, what the fuck? Calm down. Hypocrite. So we have good graphics now running on here. Maybe the moon should be up here too. Like way up here by the command service module. Do we have that? Moon. I might have had a spinning moon or something like that, which would be kind of cool because it would show you Tsiolkovsky crater. Yeah, there you go. I can show you guys Tsiolkovsky crater right now. That's exciting. Check this out. Let's make this a nice big animation so we can show you what Tsiolkovsky is. Is there a way to pause this GIF? That'd be so sick. Anyway, well, every time it comes around again, right there, on the bottom right. I'm going to put the Earth, I'm going to use the Earth as a, oh, that's not going to fucking work, huh? Is there a way to pause it? Oh, maybe not. Alright. Go to Wikipedia and type in Tsiolkovsky. Crater. And it's down there on the bottom, right there. It's basically the only Maria region on the far side of the moon. There are other little areas, Maria on the far side of the moon, and it's characterized by its very distinctive Highlands Peak in the top center of it, where there's a big white mountain in the middle, right there. It's much smaller than the crater, but Tsiolkovsky crater is a cool place. It's named after the founder of modern rocket science, Konstantin Tsiolkovsky. And Konstantin Tsiolkovsky in the 1800s was inventing, or was designing space stations and describing mathematical equations that became the backbone of rocket science, because you need to know the Tsiolkovsky rocket equation to go any further in rocket science. Essentially, it is the definition of rocket science. The Tsiolkovsky rocket equation tells you how much velocity you can gain if you expend a certain amount of mass at a set efficiency, and with other conditions. So the standard gravity at 9.81 is factored into this, but I think that's mainly for the exhaust velocity of the engine or something. I guess gravity, I don't know for sure why it's specifically always Earth's gravity is why this works. But a rocket scientist could probably tell me more. I'm not a rocket scientist. But the Tsiolkovsky equation tells you, okay, I can go from 0 to this if I burn this amount of fuel. So you have to know that to do anything in rocket science. And he was inventing that in the 1800s. And he got a crater on the moon named after him for that. And it's a cool place. According to the imagery. I've never... NASA's like, yeah, it's a really cool place. We've been there. I don't think they've landed anything there, though, because it's on the far side. So I don't think we've ever had a landing craft on Tsiolkovsky. We have real photos of it. You can never see it from the Earth, by the way. It is not visible from Earth. Because it's on the far side. And the moon's rotational period is the same as its... or its orbital period is the same as its rotational day. So, as it goes around, you're only ever seeing the front of it that you see there on the GIF. And Tsiolkovsky is right. Well, now it's so small. Let's see if I can put it up. Tsiolkovsky is there. So that's why you can never see it from the Earth. Unless you go there. NASA's going to be going there soon, they say. I think it's late 2026 now. They're going to be doing a moon flyby. But I don't know why they're doing this. They're doing a free return trajectory. Why? It's so boring. So these people who are being hyped up as the first people to go back to the moon since 1972 are being, led along by a free return trajectory. That's so boring. All they're going to do is fly by the moon and come right back. That's what that means. They're not going to orbit it. They're not going to land on it. None of that. They're just going to go whoop and back like Apollo 13. The only reason, and they're like, oh, but they did that on Apollo 13. It's like, that was an emergency. Nobody wanted to do that boring ass shit. They didn't even want to do that on Apollo 8. The first time they went there, they orbited 10 times. When Apollo 8 flew to the moon, they orbited it 10 times. And they read Genesis from orbit on television live. They have the video of the Earth coming up over the lunar horizon. It's live on television as they regain signal, and they're reading Genesis. In the beginning, So it was cool. And they orbited 10 times in that craft that's spinning on my stream right there, actually. Except they didn't have a docking port on the front of theirs. And I'm not sure if the sec bay has been modified there or any kind of new stuff, because there was updates made to the CSM since then. But these guys are just going to go like this. Whoop. Like, yeah, but Tom Hanks did that. Like, they couldn't breathe air. What's up, Ned? I saw that Druser and Cheryl are launching a panel from your show, and mentioned it earlier. I like their name for it, The Chronicle. What I really like about the name is that whenever the ZK dweeb wrote to the world, he generally wrote to the Chronicle, and he said this is the Zodiac speaking. So if you put that together, he's speaking to the Chronicle. And to call your podcast that, and our only means of communication with that person are the letters that he was writing originally to the Chronicle. It's very fitting to have that on the Chronicle. We have all the GIFs up and running again, Ned. We have the command service module. We were talking about NASA's return to the moon coming up soon. I'm hoping that somebody within the administrative structure of NASA will recognize how boring a free return trajectory is, and soon they will amend that plan. Because there's no reason that the Orion can't orbit the moon. It's already done it unmanned. Just do it again with guys inside there. It's fine. It orbited on Orion 1. I don't know what its orbital parameters were or how long it spent in orbit, but it was up there orbiting the moon, and so people could do it. And don't bore us with the free return. Dude, doing a free return trajectory and landing are such two different things completely that how are we supposed to have like any sense of anticipation for any upcoming landings from that? And they're going to play it as that. And the media will be like, well, it's the first stepping stone towards a landing on the moon. It's like way low on the list because you're just going around one time and coming back. You're not orbiting it, which requires you to change your your velocity in the vicinity of the moon beyond mid-course corrections. You'd have to perform major orbital maneuvers, utilizing the moon's sphere of influence, not the Earth's. And so, again, they have one engine. I have confidence, though, that NASA can build an engine that they can reliably ignite. And if they can't send a Dragon up to rescue them or something, they'll be fine. It's not even like the 60s when there was no rescue. In 1968, when Apollo 8 flew around the moon, there was nobody that could rescue him if something went wrong. That engine didn't ignite in lunar orbit. That's it. Bye. Nothing to help you there. Not even a lunar module, which wouldn't have done the job anyway. I think maybe there were some NASA contingencies that were written about how to do a trans-Earth injection with the LEM, but not sure about that. And we need to see at least an orbital mission operation before we can be like, okay, landing's going to happen soon, realistically. So don't let the media trick you into, oh, but they're so close. It's like, until they orbit, that's way, ways off. But I'm excited to see them do it. There's no reason they can't do it. No, they have no excuse. They have the SLS. They basically have Starship, but I don't... Dude, guys, don't try to land Starship on something. Seriously, I can't scream that loud enough. Don't try to land Starship on something. Its center of mass is way too high up. That thing is going to tip over and someone's going to die. Not kidding you. That's a dangerous operation. Don't land that thing. That's not what it should be for. It should be for transit and transportation of resources, and basically it should be an orbital vehicle, and it should assist landers and other types of spacecraft from orbital positions. It should not attempt to land. Don't land that thing. You can land it on the Earth as with the way that they've been doing as very reusable. Land that thing on the Earth as long as there's no one in it, or if the crew can bail out before it actually comes in for that landing that it does on the barge. I don't think there should be people in there for that. They should probably jump out with ejection seats or whatever before, which is safe to do at certain altitudes and speeds. There's no reason you can't do that. And then people are like, well, that's scary. It's like, that's what those guys were going through back in the 60s, and it was scarier back then. Now our technology is so much better. But don't try to land Starship on the moon. That's not a good idea. That's going to be trouble. And it might not happen the first time. It might not happen the second, third, or fourth, but it can happen. That thing is like a pencil. It's like trying to land a pencil. Like, oh, shit. It'd be like, hopefully they die on impact, because the future... I mean, like, maybe you could rescue them now, but it's just, come on. Don't try to land something like that. What the fuck, Elon? You know better than that. Everybody knows better than that. It needs to be a little squat thingy like this. Like a lunar module. There's a reason the lunar module looks like that. The engine, like, basically touches the ground. Dude, the DIPS engine's like an inch clearance off the lunar surface or something. It's ridiculous. That center of mass was fucking low. And the ascent stage of the lunar module was like a tinfoil wrapped, cube of cardboard, basically. Some Kapton and some aluminum. That's all it was. Because it had to be light, because they had to keep the center of mass low for the landing. Don't try to do Starship. It's like landing a pencil. It's the worst idea in the world. But there's no reason they can't fly to the moon and hang out there. They did it on Orion 1. So don't do a free return. And hopefully someone at NASA sees this video and they're like, you know what, he's totally right. That's whack. I'm a huge advocate for space travel, and when done right, take just a little bit of the money that the Pentagon gets for black projects and funnel it to the space program for once, so we can do some cool shit again. Everybody's like, they're like, oh yay, the Starship landed. You have to constantly push people in space travel. It's like music or something, where it's like constantly has to be better than your last achievement. You can't go to the shuttle. Everyone's gonna be so bored, even with all the hype that they pumped into it. Um, I think you have to follow the ballistics channel. There's no other. If we have DNA, go with that. And if we have, and geographic profiling seems to. Yeah, probably Ned. Yeah, actually, I do think because, and I'm gonna come back to that to the channel's comment too. But just to keep things from getting choppy here, yeah, we should have a base there. Not on Mars. Mars is no good because it's too far away, and you have to wait for like launch windows and all this other crap and basic. I don't even see the reason to go to Mars. It's like, it's just too much trouble. The moon is useful because the moon has military applications. You can surveil the Earth from it. You can harvest its resources. You can move people very quickly in like 3 days reliably from the Earth to the moon. Give it a 4th day for landing. Okay, 4 days from the surface of the moon to the Earth reliably every time and consistently. And now we have reusable spacecraft, so it's like no joke now. Now you can just be like ding, 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 no problem. All you need is the money to do it. And it would be hugely advantageous. And I hope that they don't, degenerate into bombing each other on it the way that we've been doing here. But going to Mars, it's too far. If something goes wrong, you have to it takes like 8 months to get there. Even when the phase angle's lined up, it's a nightmare. You're going to be sitting in this boring craft looking at literally nothing but the blackness of cis-solar space. There's nothing to see there for like months. So terrible. You literally would look out your window and it would just be black. That's it. That's all you would see. For months. It's going to the moon, it's like you have a great view the whole time and it's close. You feel still connected probably. Even though the astronauts talked about that remoteness, but I think if you have a base there and you've conditioned people to the concept of the moon being, it's only 3 days. We fly to, other countries and people get on a flight for however long. People have been taking train rides for months, for years. So to do the moon in 3 days, you could totally get people going on that. That would be all you need is the money to do it, and it would be perfect. But putting one on Mars, I don't care about Mars. Mars is too much trouble. And then the landing conditions are more dangerous and more extremist. It's higher gravity. There's a thin atmosphere. No, NASA's been getting its meat back a little bit. Because SpaceX, what happened was Elon's a little wacky. But I think the government or whoever wants us to be spacefaring, and this seems to be a very deep-rooted element of the command structure of our government, these people really want to be spacefaring, and they're not going to let Elon Musk saying crazy stuff on Twitter stop them from doing it. And so they just kind of hushed him under the rug for a little bit and started giving NASA more attention back, which is good because NASA is really the more professional way to do it. If we're going to go to the moon, I want to do that through NASA, not through Elon Musk. Even though Elon Musk has done some competent things lately, and I used to trash on him more than now. He's done some competent stuff, but I don't know. I would rather go through NASA to go to the moon. It's a very dangerous task. But NASA could do it safely. NASA can go to the moon safely. They know how to build the redundancies. And oh no, but they fucked up one time on Challenger and Columbia. It's like, that was 2 times. That's rare. And you know how many shuttle flights were going up back and forth then? And those were reusable. So of course the Columbia burned to shreds. It entered the atmosphere like 20 times. I don't know. I haven't checked, channel. And then to go back to your thoughts on I-70, you have to follow the ballistics and the evidence that's left behind. And I think that there's some cool geographic profiling that I did, and that I think Quester was even doing it too. And funnily enough, Quester and I, our geographic profiles for the I-70 offenses, both I think indicate pointing the same direction. And I don't know if that's just because I learned from him, or if that's just he's good at doing that. And if I accidentally got it right, and then it would agree with what he says because he's good at doing that. Not sure. But I think it was it Missouri? all roads lead to Missouri, I was saying. Maybe he's off by a state or something, and that happens with geographic profile. It's hard to tell. But I think my hypothesis was all roads lead to Missouri. The way that the exits are positioned relative to the freeways at each offense, they all point towards Missouri. I think he's trying to flee back to Missouri in those offenses. That could be wrong, so don't eliminate a suspect because he's not from Missouri. But eliminate all suspects from Missouri first. Probably would be my guess. And if we have DNA, then it's a lot easier to do that. With Erons, it was great to eliminate suspects because they would just go around and say, "Oh, I have a POI. Who is it?" Well, is this guy, Robert Potts? And they go, "Okay, let's go knock on his door." "Hey, are you Robert Potts? Yeah. Can you put this Q-tip in your mouth?" "Yep." "Okay, he's not the EAR. Move on." Very effective. Now, look how hard it is to try and eliminate Arthur Lee Allen as a suspect for the Zodiac. It's like impossible. You guys can't eliminate him. Some people claim they can, but you can't eliminate Allen. You don't have DNA. You need that to just go around. He's conclusively eliminated. Even an alibi. Who's going to vouch for it? Don Chaney? I like Don Chaney, though, a lot. I think Don Chaney was a strong, good American guy. He was for God and country kind of a vibe from him. And he might have been funny and saying some funny, weird shit. But I think that he was an outdoorsman and a textbook example of what an American. Did you say Cummerbund Man was shown in Jeweler's Rouge and said no? What do you mean? No, the Cummerbund Man. I don't know his real identity. Does anyone know? I can't remember if he's ever said anything publicly. Maybe not. He might be scared and. For good reason. There's a very dangerous offender he came face to face with. There's the only guy that knows what he looks like. Was shown. No, and I don't think he. Oh, did he comment on Billy Brossman? Oh my God, channel, that's such a rabbit hole. Did the Cummerbund Man comment on the Brossman surveillance camera? I mean, we need DNA. Get touch DNA from the casings because it's too difficult to go off. I don't know Cummerbund Man's real name. So what kind of proof is that? Well, Cummerbund Man said, what's his name? We'll have to check the junk food database, but for those of you who don't know, the junk food database is a place where you can, you would have previously have found Joseph D'Angelo's name as the identity of the original Eye Stalker. So if someone says, who was the original Eye Stalker, I'll be like, well, now according to the junk food database, that would have been Joe D'Angelo. Anytime Joe D'Angelo is referred to his responsibility as being the original Eye Stalker, that's from the junk food database. So, for example, Tony Reed claims that he had Joe D'Angelo's name and picture in the junk food database before the apprehension. Did he? It's tricky because it's hard to retroactively analyze the junk food database. Do you know where Cummerbund Man was standing? Was he in the doorway? Good question. I think he walked into the store, but I don't suspect he got too far because I-70 Jules Rouge gunman was ushering him towards it. Hey, come on back over here. And I suspect that if Cummerbund Man had gotten too close to him, that situation would have been more easily forced. So he probably was in the door, like just past the doorway, and if the door automatically closed behind him, it probably did that. So it'd be like if you just entered a store. Now, we can't say for sure unless we ask Cummerbund Man, whose name is yet to be revealed. But I think that he wasn't too far into the store, and he wasn't outside, and he wasn't standing in an open doorway, because he could have just booked it at that point. I just run, come into the, and try to duck in or jump over a neighbor's fence so he doesn't see you. If you're armed, if you have a .38 caliber revolver and he sees you and you're like, oh shit, you dump on him with the revolver and then you jump over the neighbor's fence and then into the canal. Doesn't jump the counter. Yeah, I wonder if he had killed the 2 victims yet. Because that's a double murder scene, right, Channel? I think it's the, I don't remember their names now, but I have them all mapped out on Google Earth. So what does that count for? Something about the I-70 killer to me looks very, very professional and very highly skilled, and that's just so scary about him. He's very precise, and yeah, him not jumping the counter was a split-second decision he probably made to not lose control of his crime scene, because if he starts chasing someone and they're like, "Oh fuck," and they start running, it draws attention. So he probably knew not to do that, and the fact that he was able to make that decision very quickly and on the fly speaks to his competence, and that's alarming for that offender. He needs to be apprehended. We need to apprehend that offender. If he's not currently a danger to people, he has the potential to be very dangerous. So he should be apprehended. And they could do a press conference. They have George Bush fly in on a he flew in, huh? Because he's a pilot. Did he make a carrier landing? What a gangster. The president can't do that now. Let me find out. George W. Bush carrier landing. Guys, I think he did, dude. The president can't do that shit now. Let's see. Holy fuck. Guys, the president doesn't do that anymore. This is a different era. Bush made a carrier landing on it himself. Comes in on a jet and fucking sticks a landing like a boss on an aircraft carrier. And then he's like, mission accomplished. Guys, even if you don't like the rest of everything else that he did, the president can't do that now. Now the president's like, oh, they're trying to shoot me. I'm going golfing. It's not like, it's just a different era. Wow. Now they're like all at war with themselves. They're like, oh gosh, people in the rally. We used to be in a war, guys. Not like a wussy one where everyone's at war with their own identity. That was a cool one. At least it looks historically cool. Doesn't look like oh, watch out for that guy at the rally. Like, what kind of fucking war is that? That's stupid. Guys, don't let them do that to your culture. It's not a war unless, like, you have to go stop a bad guy. Stop trying to... There's plenty of them. It's just a different era. And it's all precision drone strikes. It's boring. Though that's scary is the way that Ukraine and Russia are like at World War I style combat. It's like, what the fuck? No good. The Bush and Clintons got dumped by 2009. Yeah. Think about all the money that they made. And think about all the heat they were under. Oh my gosh, it makes perfect sense now. Like, so the Bush cartel people were under a lot of fire from some concerning places about how they had committed a war crime by going to, and I'm not saying whether they did or didn't, but there were some worthy adversaries who were like, these guys are war criminals. And then the Clintons have always been in trouble, you know. Eric Hunley was just had on. Anyway, there's a whole thing about the Clinton involvement in the Oklahoma City bomb, but they've been in trouble forever. And I think the heat got so hot, they were like, we need to back up. And of course, then who bought Obama? Probably both of them bought Obama, but they made so much money. Those two. And what's his name? Cheney was like the mastermind of how to profit with war. He did Halliburton. Halliburton made a ton of money in the war on terror, and of course, he had an obligation to Bush for picking him as vice president, and he had an obligation to other high-ranking officials, and so he probably paid them a lot of money, as was the original agreement. I'm sure you can find residues of this financial arrangement present in the Project for a New American Century. I haven't even read the whole thing, but go check out the PNAC where they predict 9/11, because they do. They said the United States needs another Pearl Harbor-like event in order for it to blah, blah, blah. And then, boom, 9/11 happened. I was like, okay, advanced knowledge. So that document, the PNAC, probably will show you who's doing a little bit. But they made a lot of money, and they were under a lot of heat. When you do something drugged, I bet. I mean, why not? Hillary's such a gangster that why not get involved in that? You know, they probably had more money than they know what to do with, and if that's where is Hillary from? Arkansas also? Yeah, anywhere that Hillary goes, you're just going to see criminal operations. And she's never hit it. It's always been the press. We saw, he died. She's like a thug. So, and they haven't been getting away with it either so much. People are like, well, they've been getting away. It's just they have so much money they can buy the influence, but like everybody knows what they're up to. As far as I don't have any proof that they're involved in that channel specifically, but why not? I mean, they're above the law, so essentially, might as well invest in it. It's all so simple, though, and people are like, they get like bogged down in a political debate about it. It's like, okay, so those guys right there are like high-level criminal conspiracy people, and you can see what they're doing, and that's it. And they're like, yeah, but what about that guy? He's gonna be trying to fight those guys. It's like they're all doing it. But what about this guy? He's an outsider. He's doing it too. He's involved in that too. No, I didn't. I think I've heard that name before, but I never got mixed in. The problem is if you diversify your true crime interest too much, you lose sight of the intricate details of specific ones. You know, Ned and I do have Ned DeHaan from Black Box Online Radio do have some ambitions to, in the near future, do an Irons stream and talk about Irons, and it's precisely because of some of my investigative and research-based tunnel visions that have allowed me to learn so much about those cases that Ned and I could do a show and it would go for God knows how long. I mean, the only thing that's limiting me in terms of the duration of that is how we're feeling. You know, a couple hours is a lot to cover. I'm going to have to do it in parts because it's just so much information. But if I diversify too much of that interest, then I lose the ability to really engage a case with you guys and talk about the fine details. And I don't even know where we're going to start. I like to give it over to whoever I'm doing a show with. Like when Zach Menace and I did the Berryessa special, I let him like do these really intricate timelines. It was excellent work, just such good work. And I like to just turn that over and say, okay, where are we starting? And I can always come in with as much information as I know about any area of that crime spree. So it's fun to do it that way. It's like you become a co-host on your show, because when someone comes on there, it's like It's not. I have hours and hours of Nuke Hoax, Venti, Cinco, where I'm like trolling and doing all this, and then when someone comes on and talk a serious thing, it's like, okay, let's see what their ambitions are. Okay. And which show was that? Oh, you saw that Ned and I did Sherry Joe Bates, right? Well, we have so much to cover in neurons. I'm going to have to make a presentation, too. I think it's going to be... What would we cover first? Modus operandi, the timeline of things. What do you want to focus on? Because if you have any ideas there, Ned, I can build my little bullet point style presentation just to keep my mind on track more. Because I'll be talking about Fumato Capturado, and then we'll end up talking about George Bush and his sick carrier landing. So it's good to have the bullet points. But that was a sick carrier landing. That's so... When anyone lands on an aircraft carrier, that's just impressive. Zodiac didn't do that. Timelines, okay. So let's just hit Visalia Ransacker then. Or, oh my gosh, let's go back. I know you've probably heard the Morford interview about the Cordova Meadows burglar. And oh my gosh. Okay. I'm going to prepare for this then, Ned. And we're going to do a summary of those. There's a lot to cover there. We're going to go all the way back Cordova Meadows burglar into the Visalia Ransacker, then into the Cordova activity again, and then as it moves. And it's funny the way I like to hear about the media coverage surrounding the... Okay. Here, let me start making some of these notes. Oh, as it comes up, you know who we need? Do you have a newspapers account? Because there's some people that have newspaper subscriptions, and they can go back. I don't have that. But they can look up, Visalia Ransacker newspaper, and they get every article about him from that time period. Let's do timelines of Iran's media coverage of Iran's. Okay. And it's interesting to see the lack of the media coverage for the original Night Stalker, because they didn't even know that those crimes were the same person. They certainly didn't know that they were from the Este area of Villador. So they didn't know that they were each other, one person, and they didn't know that they were from the Este area of Villador. Oh, you posted another channel to talk about Berryessa. That wasn't on BBR. Oh, Berryessa. Did I? Oh, the Berryessa special. Yeah, it was, oh, is it gone? It might be gone. But, yeah, I think it's gone. But if you guys, had it, let me see if maybe it's still here. If it has its own folder, it might be here. If it doesn't, then it doesn't have it. Berryessa special. I'm surprised those are there. Yeah, it's probably not here anymore, guys. And if you were here, what we're still gonna do, it's an unsolved case. My views on true crime have changed since this all got started. There's only so many things that I can say about an unsolved case until we have that solution, and when we have that solution, then it becomes much easier to research it thoroughly. Until then, it's a lot of speculating. And while it's fun, how far can that go? Oh, what if the Zodiac liked to do crossword puzzles? Well, we'll arrest him, and then we'll ask him, Yeah, Zach Menace. I know, and he was really good at the type of research that special asked of him to. He did a very good job. And we're going to do another one. I just threw a bunch of files away recently because my computer almost exploded. It had no storage, but I was recording an album on it, still am, so that takes up a lot of storage space, and it was going, running out of space, I was like, oh fuck, so I just dumped so much stuff. Because what was more important was that my computer continues to run and that my album is there, or a bunch of videos that talk about the Zodiac Killer, and you guys have seen it. Zodiac couldn't do a crossword because he couldn't spell. Maybe he couldn't spell. He might have been faking that. If we arrest him, we can ask him. No control. I think he did that on purpose, though. I think he's making fun of the guy on the TV. Because that guy on the TV is like, oh, the kids. Oh, God. And so he wrote, like, no control. He's trolling. He's really funny at that kind of stuff. Because it's just such internet troll behavior. He, like, watched the TV special and then, like, makes a cipher about it and then goes, I have no control. Brilliant. There's a reason why that guy, I mean, he's a PR. Yeah, he was trolling them hard. Because we all know that was Eric Weil on the television now. It wasn't the Zodiac. But he was claiming he was the Zodiac. He's like, I come with the kids. So Zodiac heard that and was like, what the fuck? Probably laughed his ass off. He should have been able to spell. I know, but he might have done that on purpose. Who spells? No one spells that like that. You have to be. I mean, it's hard to know because I can. Must not have believed. Ooh, okay, we'll cover that in a second channel. He should have been spelling kid. It's like maybe he didn't know how to spell kid, or maybe he did. But the only way that we're gonna know. Ooh, mild dyslexia. Maybe. But the ciphers are... Well, the ciphers are a little bit broken too. It's possible these things are on a spectrum. Like, some people are better at writing and comprehending. I think it's not so black and white as I have dyslexia, I don't have dyslexia. Though you could be on an area of the spectrum of dyslexia where it's so obvious that, yes, you have it. But you might have, like... such a touch of dyslexia where it's like not really noticed, but you're like kind of bad at spelling or something. So it's possible, yeah. But until we arrest him, I don't know. And that's where it all comes back. Like, until we have a solution, it's very, very hard to say with some of these things. The media must not have believed EAR's whispering. EAR's whispering was to disguise his voice because the FBI themselves will tell you that it's impossible to identify a whisper as a person because there's not the vibratory frequencies that, unless they say a word or like a phrase or have a specific tempo that you could maybe say, oh, it's similar. But as far as actually identifying a voice, a whisper, you can't because it doesn't have the frequencies that make up what your voice is. So if I talk with this voice, there's frequencies responsible that, oh, that's Vincent. If I'm, okay, I'm a different kind of, there's no way to know that's Vincent because you're just getting the whisper. So he did that on purpose to disguise his voice. The question why, I don't know, but I think he was so paranoid. He also was a police officer, so he could consider the possibility that he might pull over one of his victims in the future. I mean, they're not too far, Auburn to Sacramento, where he was offending. So if someone was driving around in Auburn, he had to pull him over as a cop, and then he comes up to the window and he sounds exactly like the EAR, that person might freak out. And they might freak out in the custody of the police. So maybe that's why he was doing that. Let's see here. Must not have. They didn't push hard on Bonnie. That's because a lot of people didn't know if they said Bonnie or Mommy or something, and it was just wasn't being communicated. It came up later during the investigation. People were going through the records and going, "Look at this, Bonnie." Like he noticed that he said that. Now it might not happen in lifetime like that. John Parcox, don't think that that's the Zodiac. Isn't he like 64 years old at the time of the crimes and like really tall? Yeah, majority of the misspellings were deliberate. I agree with that. But it's too hard to know until we arrest him. Does it lean us towards or away from someone? I mean, maybe you could, look at the way Arthur Lee Allen spelled things, but that doesn't put him in a crime scene, so it's bogged down a lot of people's but the way that people have speculated really well in Zodiac and in certain cases and enabled a lot of investigative research routes that weren't there before. So that's always cool. His babbling. EAR's script was well known to investigators. So EAR basically said the same things at every attack. And internally, the investigative agencies knew that. Yeah, 6'4" and 245. He's not the Zodiac. Nope, not Zodiac. Because remember, we have a scientific, and you know this, but this for the viewers. For the viewers, we have a scientific assessment of the Zodiac's height. We have Cecilia Shepard at Lake Berryessa saw an officer of known height, I think he was, 5'10", stand next to a tree. And then she said he was just a little bit taller than that. So we have him at like 5'11" or 6. But any taller than she would have said we need a taller officer over there. So I think that her measurement is within an inch or two of the Zodiac. And they actually found that with witness descriptions, it's like 80% of the time that they correctly guess the offender's height within 2 inches or something like that. So we're probably, and she said, a little taller than 5'10". So we're looking at a 5'11", 6 foot tall offender in Zodiac. So if he's 6'4", it's not him. Okay. Let's see what you babble. Okay, so his script was very well known. EAR's script was well known to the investigators, and he said the same things at all these attacks. He told them to shut the fuck up. He told them the same things over, and there were elements of the essay itself that had certain characteristics. So certain things that he did during the commission of those essays specifically were the same every time, and so they knew that that's him. That's the thing, they basically can trace an offender like this through his paraphilias. So certain things that he does, they know it's him because it's very unique to that person. And EAR was that way. It's actually listed, it's a website called goldenstatekiller.com or something where they talk about MO factors, and they specifically mention this one thing that I don't want, it's just graphic, I don't want to talk about it on stream, and just gross, but it involves hands being bound. Anyway, it's the same thing at all these attacks, since they were able to trace him that way. Let's see here. 50, yeah. Zodiac is not 50, I don't think. Oh. And see what happens there when, like, if people are like, wait, but he misspelled words deliberately, it's like, so did this guy. Is he the Zodiac? And then we talk about him for 6 months. It's like, because he misspelled a word. And it can be fun, I guess, but I want to know who the Zodiac was with that. Like, I want a solve in that case. I don't. It's cool to think you know who it is. It'd be like, I think it's this guy, but I can't. It's on Wikipedia. If I edit it on Wikipedia, the Zodiac Killer was blah, 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 it's going to get removed because it's just not confirmed. I want that confirmation. If they ran the body. Something, yeah, I don't know if they ran that in the news. What are the odds you'd see it? And what does it prove? Like, there were so many other clues that were being used to pursue him. And then Ned says that he doesn't resemble the composite. That's okay, though. Zodiac doesn't need to... when Zodiac is identified, he doesn't really need to resemble the composites, because they're not very good. And composite... I mean, look at the EAR and look at D'Angelo, the composite versus the real guy. It's like, okay, he's a white guy. That's about all you can say. Now, the Surfer Dude composite is a really good composite. But I strongly suspect that Surfer Dude is a vastly superior quality composite sketch than anything from the Zodiac case. And you might think, well, why does it look so cartoony? It's like, compare it to D'Angelo. It's crazy. Get the picture of Surfer. I have a comparison. Right. Zodiac doesn't do this. There's nothing in Zodiac with this kind of quality composite. Let's see here. Where is it? It is it Surfer Dude or JJD Surfer Dude composite? That's the question for the masses today. HIJ, okay. Dead air. Scrape pod. Where is it? I think it's Surfer Dude. That's kind of the issue that we're having here. Come on. It's a lot of pressure to try to find it. Really? It's not here? What the crud? Anyway. Wow, you guys. It's disappointing. This traffic goes surfer dude in gallery. What happens? Ha 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 ha. Why? There you go. Okay, I found it. It's on your screen now. No more dead air. So just compare the facial features of this guy. Look from nose to nose, eyes to eye. It's perfect, basically. It has its little bit of shortcomings, but it's a great composite sketch. I don't think we have that with Zodiac. Oh. But very similar there. Deep eye sockets. That nose kind of flattens out where it flattens out, and it ends just a little bit too low, but it's barely recognizable. And then the mouth, maybe the bottom lip is a little bit too big, but other than that, it nails it. So. Great composite sketch. I don't think we have that with Zodiac. On the Zodiac, was the only DNA fingerprints from the letters, or were they just never allowed to run Stein against the LA? Supposedly, the FBI says that they compare the prints from Stein and from Allen, and they don't think they're the same, but I don't trust that judgment. I don't think that's fair yet. I don't think we have the quality. We need to verify that is possible. We don't personally have the prints in high enough quality. I'm not just going to take their word on it because they get stuff wrong. And I question the quality of the evidence that they have access to. And so, if the high-quality Stein prints can be released, then that would give us the opportunity to have additional independent researchers, investigators, or specialists in that field in a public and open forum check those handprints. Because we have Arthur Lee Allen's handprints and we have the Steincat prints. But we don't have them in high enough quality. If we have those released in high resolution, in whatever, 4K, and then we can have experts on YouTube or elsewhere and come and take a look at them publicly and say, hey, what do we have here? And it's very possible they're going to go, it's just you don't have high, they're too smudged, or there was something problematic at the crime scene. Yeah, forensics are really weak in Zodiac, like Ned says. But isn't that interesting? Because you would expect that there would be some skin cells in the Berryessa bindings, and you can take elimination profiles. I mean, the Zodiac's going to have the most skin cells, you would think, in those bindings because he's cutting them and manipulating them. So look for those skin cells. And then check the cab more thoroughly, because I don't believe that he entered and exited that cab without shedding even a single cell. I don't believe that. Use an MVAC on it and then and meticulously separate the profiles that you find, like meticulously. See, you do an MVAC on the front seat of the cab and you get 20 people's profiles or more. Check them, isolate them. It's the Zodiac killer. We need to know. He didn't leave anything in the cab, not even anything, nothing at all. Come on. And there's a couple of different crime scenes, but I think the cab and the Berryessa bindings are going to be your best bet. Maybe the blanket, too. So there are probably there's avenues of possible forensic, and I like it approach from the crime scene, not from the letters. So, channel, the fingerprints. Yeah, even if they're handled with bare hands, how many people handle them? Even if it's 4 guys, I wouldn't mind sifting through identification or through elimination profiles of 4 or 5 other guys in order to arrive at the one unknown profile, if that gives us Zodiac. I mean, maybe law enforcement isn't patient enough to do that, but if I were in their position, I'd be patient enough to do that. Go, okay, it's 5 other dudes' DNAs. Yeah, and so even if you have their DNA profiles found on that rope, there's still going to be skin cells or profiles from an unidentified male, and that's going to be your offender, possibly, because your skin cells aren't going anywhere in your hairs and stuff. So if there's some profile, there could be some biological material in those bindings, even if they're in a paper bag. If they're in a paper bag or something, and you find 5 other guys' DNA on it, there's that one unidentified profile. Who's that? Let's run the IgG and figure out who he is. Arthur Lee Allen. They're like, oh fuck. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but I think it would. I hope. I kind of want it to be Arthur Lee Allen, guys. I'm not gonna bend the truth or evidence away from that, but yeah, we all want it to be Allen. It'd be funny. It'd be so funny. People would be like, "What? We knew the whole time?" Oh, the ninhydrin is why, I think, Ned. I think you have fingerprints from the letters, but you're not going to get DNA from the pages or anything, because when they fumed those letters with the reagent ninhydrin, which develops patent and latent prints on paper, or develops latent prints, they fume these papers with ninhydrin, and it reacts with the sweat oils or whatever of a fingerprint, and it causes them to turn red from like whatever. And when they did that, they destroyed the ability to pull DNA profiles from the pages. So because they didn't know about DNA, they just were mainly concentrating on the fingerprint. Now they don't have the ability to do that. But that isn't MVAC the cab, you know. They need a tenacious investigator come in there. Where's my MVAC? And he's like, right here. From the inside of the cab. And he's like, sir, that's going to be 4,000 different people's DNA profiles. He's like, it's okay. I got dexedrine from Cooper. He's like, you know, we'll sift through them. It's the Zodiac, guys. Sift through it. It's worth it, man. They're like, well, the evidence is just too... It's like, it's so worth it. Yeah, to make matters worse, I think they did it to the envelopes too, didn't they? So if that's the case, then no wonder why there's no saliva DNA on the envelope flap. Got fumed with ninhydrin. Like, oh, geez. Everyone's like, he's been using sink water. It's like, no, he just got really lucky. Oh, and here's where it's even worse. Because I discovered something called electrostatic detection testing. I didn't discover it, but I learned about it. I learned about electrostatic detection testing, and I was like, oh my gosh, we can use that to get the Zodiac, because if yeah, and we don't. So I know, Ned, you saw me talking about Ned's trying to bring up planting fingerprints onto the pages and stuff. It's the subterfuge goes so deep, and there's no reason he couldn't have done that. That's why I'm so, guys, I really am such an advocate for the evidence got to come from the crime scene, because when the Zodiac writes a letter, he is in his laboratory. Never forget that. When the Zodiac writes a letter, he has a laboratory. Everything that he needs to create a Zodiac letter and to get it sent off, all down to the Franklin Delano Roosevelt Moonrise stamps, is ready to go. It's his lab. And he can put fake fingerprints on things. He can remove fingerprint. He can do whatever he wants. He can put fake anything. It's his lab. Given the possibilities are endless, is what I'm saying. Because there's nobody watching. It's not like he's in a crime scene. He has to like, oh shit, and run out of there. So that's looking at that route. You're more likely to get hit with subterfuge. I can't say for sure that you are. We can't say for sure that he's planting fingerprints on this stuff. I think he might have been doing that. But if you're going the letters route, you better be prepared to be up against the Zodiac in the lab. If you go up against the Zodiac's crime scenes, then you have him acting in a place where time is of the utmost importance, and he can't account for many of the variables. He can account for some of the variables, but he certainly can't account for all of them, and I suspect there's more than one that he can't account for at a crime scene. So if you're going that route, you're going to capture the Zodiac. So MVAC that cab. Because his skin cells got to be in there. Yeah, not a lot of evidence, but it doesn't take much. If you know where to look. If you MVAC the cab and isolate 800 male profiles from that mixture of skin cells, and I guarantee you it wouldn't be 800. It would probably be like 10 people, or 20 or 30 people. investigators, homicide inspectors, people who worked at Yellow Cab, etc., etc. 20 or 30 people's profiles are probably in that cab. Pick through them. The Zodiac is in there too. And all it takes, I think, is that one place, and you have him. Sure, the letters may offer more numbers as a quantitative game of here, look at all the evidence we can get from here, but quality of your evidence is important. And if you're up against evidence that was produced from the laboratory of the killer versus him in the heat of the moment trying to run away from a crime scene, that's where I want to look, because that's where he makes mistakes. Always. The offenders make mistakes in the beginning when they're learning, and when things don't go their way. And I don't think things went his way at Presidio Heights. It was too close at Presidio Heights. And he was one of the rare ones that saw the writing on that wall and was like, "Oh shit," and stopped. But that doesn't mean he didn't make mistakes at Presidio Heights. So MVAC that taxi cab, because his skin cells have got to be in there. They have to be in there. How can you walk around town drawing a gun from your pocket, like shooting someone at close range, all this shit, like dive bombing out of the fucking... Come on, his something's in there. Was MVAC how they got the... No, I mean, is it? I hope not. MVAC is just where they suck up all the skin cells, right? And then they sift through the DNA profiles. I trust that science. The problem is, most of the time, they're like, oh, it takes too much work and too much time. We have too many current cases. I know, but give one of your guys, like, a couple of Cooper's medicines from the DB Cooper hijacking, and they'll sift through that stuff. Man, maybe don't tell the court that that's what you did, because they might challenge your credibility of that. But, sift through those profiles, because it's got to be in there. It has to fucking be in there. A lie detector just measures your physiological responses, so are you more... So that... Yeah, it's stupid. It's not science. I mean, it's science, but it's not like telling what they say. It doesn't detect lies. That's not the purpose of it, so that's not real. But MVAC sucking up your skin cells and isolating genetic profiles till they find the unknown male present in the cab, because they can tell, okay, this one's Paul Stein, and it might take forever, and it's fine. Do it. The sooner you start, the sooner we're done with this. And they go, oh, this one's Paul Stein, this one's Armstrong, this one's Tosky, this one's Paul Stein's boss, this one, who's this guy? And then you go on GEDmatch, and you put the DNA on there, and then you go, oh, it's Arthur Lee Allen. Or equivalent. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but that would be great if that's what happened, because then we'd have a solve. And then it would make it so much easier to talk Zodiac. People are like, well, yeah, but then it would be solved. And be like, that's where the discussion begins. We didn't have much of a discussion until we figured out who the fuck this guy was. That's the same with Eurons. It's like, yeah, but I want to be a detective online. It's like, then here's your suspect. Look at him. Because then next time when one comes along, we don't know who he is, and we go, well, what about that time that one guy did that? And, oh, shit. And then it can help you. Like, if we didn't have the case reference for investigative genetic genealogy, if we didn't know that we could capture people that way, which happened with D'Angelo, we wouldn't know to look at Zodiac with that mindset of find that DNA. All it takes is you just have to find it. The profile has to be there somewhere. It's in the cab. It's in the bindings. It's in the blanket. It's inside of a shell case. It's some fucking where. Somehow. It's in the Halloween cart. Do something. Get the profile. And once you have the profile, the case is over now. Because we have the case is solved. Because we have the case law to go to and say, look, this is how you capture people. And that's what we did with that. So then we can actually talk about Zodiac. Because they don't know who he is right now. For sure. And we don't know what he was doing on December 19th, 1968. What was he doing on December 19th, 1968? Until you know who he is, you can't say. With D'Angelo, it's like, okay, what was he doing on December 2nd, 77? And if we have enough witnesses or documentation, we can tell you. And I like that, because then we actually know about the case. Like, hey, what caused Lake Herman Road? Because one guy says it's like a psyop, and another guy says it's like a conspiracy. Another guy says it's like a game he did, Another thing was like, they don't even agree on what kind. I mean, there's so much unknown. But eventually we'll know, I think, if someone will MVAC that cab for, Tom Voigt told me it was a dead end, but I don't accept that yet. Don't just give up like that. No, the cab is just a dead end. Goodbye. Have you MVAC'd it? No, no, I don't want to do that. Why not? It's a lot of time. It's like, you don't care about and you don't want to capture this guy. Well, we do. Yeah, but how much? Well, it's a little bit of work. No Trabajando, solo Pomando. Anyway, everybody getting hungry. So we're going to close out. That's usually what defines the stream length, is how long can he go without eating or peeing. Do you really think the Z mystery will be solved? I hope that the potential is as optimistic as I am for where his DNA might be. Until I hear some information from the SFPD or the Department of Justice about whether or not that DNA exists in that cab, I think I can have a pretty optimistic view of it. It's like, it's probably in there. Hopefully they recognize that and they'll do something about it. And if they confirm for us that it's not, then my outlook will probably be negatively impacted from that. If they say the DNA isn't there, we checked, we didn't MVAP, we did this, we did that, there are no skin cells, then I'd say fuck. And that's going to be really bad for that case. So they should check, because we can either have this one in the bag don't give up there, but the chances would start descending. You don't have too many crime scenes, and you especially don't have too many crime scenes where he actually interacted with the environment very much. At Lake Herman Road, what are you going to do? Test the gravel? There's nothing there. He didn't touch much. So maybe in the shell casings, you check all 10. But kind of rare to get that touch DNA from a shell. And he might have had gloves to not leave a print because he knew about fingerprints. So, but yes, if they check in the cab and they find some DNAs, this case is in the bag. So they better hurry up. I keep trying to use this as a mic stand. It's like not agreeing. Yeah. All right, everybody. Good show. We're going to work on putting more GIFs on the stream. If you missed it at the beginning of the stream, I gave a preview of the opening track of the next album, The Book Depository. I put that in the beginning. It's a little message to Untold Stories. I want to point out that I do like Mark Grobert, and I'm just messing with him. I'm just playing around. We don't agree on everything, but I think he's a good investigator, and I think he's a funny guy. And that counts when you're a radio show host. You have to have some, style. And Mark Grobert he's cool. He's a cool guy. And I think the way that he clowns on people is funny. But I did put that in the beginning of the song because he has said some things about Dealey Plaza that's like, what, dude? No. And it's okay. Who knows who told him to do that? Hopefully nobody. All right, everybody. And, thanks, Ned. And I'll be doing some timeline assemblies for